Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to World of Tanks Blitz official YouTube stream. Here we go live. My name is Alexandra, and today we are going to discuss with you Reforged update and answer your questions. Today with me we have Tony, of course, well known, my favorite co-host, and of course we have developers. So today with us we have the general manager of our studio, Tane. Yeah.
Hello.
And product director, Andrei.
Hi guys.
They will be answering your questions and will share with you the upcoming steps and plans of our studio. Let's get started. Ready?
So it seems like we're like 5 days into the ultra test. Any general thoughts you want to share with us, with players?
Sure.
With tricky questions.
Yeah, look, so like you said, we're 5 days in. It's been, it was a very big, active, long weekend. We've had hundreds of thousands of battles, what, 350,000, I think?
Arenas. Mm-hmm.
Yep, so that's been great. The attendance and the involvement has been awesome. The volume of comments has certainly not been small. We've heard tons of feedback. We got a bunch, look, we got a bunch of data, a bunch of technical issues that we've managed, thankfully, a lot of things to sort through, and a bunch of feedback from all the places that you would expect, whether that's Discord or Reddit or streamers themselves or the comments on the streamers' videos and all that. So it's been awesome for that. I will say in a bit of what, maybe bad news for some people, we did manage to find the physics bug that's creating the AMX Airlines thing.
Are we keeping it?
No, well, look, it's given us some interesting ideas for, maybe a special mode or something, but yeah, it turns out that, tanks that are under 40 tons will not be launching themselves into space on a regular basis going forward. we did manage to track that down. There was a fix that had gotten kind of stuck in the last merge before the test went live. So we did find that. And then, again, I think also just tons of stuff about whether it's performance, compatibility issues on different devices, whether it's PC with different graphic cards or, different phones, whether they're Android or iOS, and the different problems there. Tons of stuff, tons of feedback, tons of data that's been great. And the engineering team is just devouring that stuff now.
Yeah, so, the amount of tickets, it's like crazy.
Yeah.
So, huge respect to the team. It's something I could never imagine we can handle.
Yeah, and look, this is the kind of stuff, right, that you can do all the testing you want before it goes live, but until it's in the hands of, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of players and all that, you just don't, there's certain things you don't see, you just can't get, right? And so that's the benefit of this, and especially, again, for a first test. I mean, when we first launched, it was, I think within a few minutes, right, we saw there was a problem where the bots were sort of spamming the server.
The bots on the server started to respawn and take the whole capacity of the CPUs, and we had to turn it off actually for a while.
Yep.
And then the guys fixed it in about an hour and turned it back. So that's why the 1 hour delay on the release.
Yeah. And a few people, those of you who were in the first battles, right, and had like why am I matching in and playing 2-on-2 or 3-on-3?
That
right?
was me, yeah.
Yeah, that was the bots. It's the bots' fault.
Ours.
Blame bots.
But that kind of stuff, right? That there's a huge technical advantage, right, to doing this test, and we're super thankful, obviously, for all the input and involvement that people have had to let us gather this stuff in. Beyond that, obviously, there's tons and tons of feedback on features and design and changes and all that, and I think that's the stuff we should spend a lot of time talking about.
Yeah, we're here to address it, basically.
Yeah.
Actually, in the chat we have the spam right now with F to pay respect for the IMX back, which actually was a feature. Yeah, players loved it.
Yeah. Again, honestly, like I see that and I think, Halloween mode, April Fool's mode, something like that. Not
Maybe
today or
set
tomorrow,
name.
but yeah.
Set name.
AMX Airlines. Yeah. But it's, look, the fun thing, right, is sometimes these crazy accidents actually turn into something cool that you can use much later on. Right.
Absolutely. So, we cannot avoid the topics that has already been covered from one point of view on YouTube, on Discord as well. But we still have questions about them, and let's jump to one of the biggest and hottest topics in our community, commanders.
Yep.
So we've already discussed a lot, and we released the video on YouTube with some explanations and with some aspects that you were interested in. And if you haven't watched it yet, please do it after the stream. But of course, we have something to share with you this time as well. So, of course, we know that the visuals of the commanders was not what you wanted. However, I believe that there are some players that were kind of interested in the appearance of the commanders in the game as a feature, while the visuals for the commanders can be improved. And I think that this point of view was well perceived and well taken into consideration, and we will make improvements, but let's discuss in more details.
Yeah. Look, after the initial trailer came out, we said we got a lot of very clear feedback around commanders, and like you said, some of it is visuals, right? Some people have very strong views about visuals and problems with that. Some people have very strong views about the system itself and problems with that and concerns. And that was huge, and those problems and issues continued to represent themselves in the feedback once the people played in the ultra test itself. Tank sets, right, was another big one. There's a bunch of other things that are in there as well. Those were the things that got the biggest amount of heat, right, the biggest amount of concern. As I said last time, right, on the stream a week ago, already, before we went into the ultra test, we already agreed inside the team, we already decided to make changes on the visual style part. In the time since then, since we've come back and gone through all this stuff, we've already got one commander who we've put on the shelf, right, who we're just not going to proceed forward with at all at this point. We've got another one where I've already seen rework from Yuri and from the art team to make a bunch of changes to the base model. And so that's with commanders that we've got now and some other changes that are that are more broadly happening. And then frankly, it's also about future commanders. So as an example, our intention is that in seasons going forward, you have a new season, you'll release new sets, new commanders. That'll be part of the way we roll this out. Our first commander that's going to be in that season is already being completely redesigned in keeping with the feedback here.
Okay, that's a good example that the opinion of players was not only heard, but that helped us to make the right steps in improving the system.
Yeah.
I would add that apart from the commanders themselves, actually we got a lot of data about how the current experience got transferred to the commanders. We found a lot of bugs there. We will be changing the numbers of how you would change your current crew to commanders and their skills, how you pick them, how you upgrade them. So that helped a lot, and that's something that we're focusing as well.
I think the other thing, it's interesting, we've got a lot of people who say, look, I want this, I want historical, I want realistic, I want... And there's a huge segment, a very important segment of Blitz players that are that group, right, that want those things. There are also other people who are not as strongly motivated about that. And one of the things that we want is to make sure, right, like with the commanders as an example, let's, again, not about the system, right? I'm just talking about kind of the style, the visuals, everything else for the moment. We want, for the people who really don't want to, they don't want to see it, they don't want to see this command, they don't, whether it's realistic or cartoony or whatever, they just don't want to see it, right? They don't want to hear them, they don't want to see them. We're going to make things happen, right? We're already building in some features that are going to allow you to make choices about how much you want the commanders, from a presentation standpoint, to be something that you're interacting with. Whether you're, again, seeing them next to your tank in the hangar, whether you're, hearing them, whatever, right? These are things that we're working on. Again, we've talked a lot about commanders already, and I know people, one of the biggest comments that we had on the commanders video was actually, okay, so what about sets? So we want to spend time talking about sets, but absolutely, the feedback has been heard. We've got it. We got you. We understand. We're going to make a ton of changes, and as soon as we have some more clear things to show off, we'll come in with you guys and we'll spend more time showing new visuals, new things, some new features, and having some more clear announcements about those changes. So there's a ton of that. I think the other thing, just before we get deep into the set stuff, and I know that's the thing people really want to hear a lot about, just a couple of other quick things. We've heard a lot around the economy and around bits and pieces of the economy. And like sets, like commanders, economy is super complicated, and it's better, rather than talking about one little bit or another little bit or whatever, we actually think, we talked about this a lot over the last few days, we think what will be better is actually to do a full overview of the whole economy, right? How you get silver, what you spend it on, where it goes, right? What are the things you get in from the battle? Where do they go? How does it work? And then, and be able to explain to everybody how the new system is working now, and frankly, how it's intended to work, because of course, as it's a test, some of the things don't work the way that we want them to, and some of the things need further change and tuning based on the data we got from the test. So I think much like, we've gone through commanders and there's some information out there, we'll go through sets today, there's some information that'll be out there. I think the next thing people can expect from us is a lot more information then about the economy.
Right.
Another thing that's small, but that I think I just wanted to get out quickly for people, there was a lot of commentary about the API support. And about, hey, why you don't have this. And, all that they'd heard from us so far was, we don't have API support.
That's not the whole point, right?
Yeah, no, look, that's not the end of the story, right? So the more clear to, and this is a commitment that we're making, right? We want to support the API. We want to continue, all these people who have devoted so much of their time and their energy to building all these cool sites and add-ons and things.
Some of those tools are actually really great.
Yeah, and frankly, a lot of them have
quality.
helped inform stuff that we've done over the years, right? We want to support that. To do API support for a completely new engine, you have to go through, you have to build out the engine, you have to finish it, then you do a bunch of stuff to support the API. Early on, especially, as we know that in tests, things are prone to being either tweaked or slightly rewritten or very significantly rewritten, you do that, then you have to go and you have to rewrite all the API support stuff. So we don't imagine that the API support will be there at launch for Reforged, but as soon as humanly possible after that, when we're through that sort of initial launch phase stuff, absolutely as soon as possible we will have that. And I know that was a big thing for everybody, and so again, before we get into the...
It's a big thing even for Andrei. I know that Andrei loves Blitz stats.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I use Blitz stars actually a lot. And again, as Stan said, we're changing a lot of the backend, and that's actually the reason why it's not going to be compatible. And again, we are moving from 3 different clusters to 1 global, so it will require some changes from the guys who own these websites, and kind of reintegrate with the APIs. But again, we want to have that. We really value these third-party sites and services, and like the ideas and services that they provide.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
So short answer, we'll get there. It just takes some time.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, and again, I think, look, as I said the first stream, right? We haven't done that great of a job of communicating our intentions sometimes, and I think this is one of those places, right? The message everybody heard was, we won't have API support. What they didn't hear was the rest of the story, and that's on us, right? We have to do a better job of communicating what it is that we're doing and our intentions, and when we can't do something, why it is, and then what we intend to do down the line.
We came back from the commander's topic a little bit, so I would like to cover one of the questions that was asked on our Discord, but haven't been discussed yet. The question: some abilities of commanders like Kai and Duncan increase alpha damage. Will you be changing this, since it increases the randomness of battles by not being able to predict how much you are getting hit for?
I think the short answer is yes. The current abilities and their numbers, the exact numbers of how much the alpha damage is amplified, are going to be changed. I know that right now they are increased to some bigger degree that we expected on purpose, just to see the impact. Because it really, sometimes you can even double the number and you will see no impact. What does it mean? I mean, should we keep the old one or should we keep the increased one? Right now, we are still gathering the stats. We had, 300,000 battles. That's a lot. Unfortunately, that's not enough yet. Again, these numbers will be changing before the release, so we're gonna go to the release with other numbers. But even after release, we will be changing these numbers anyway. I think every patch. My expectation is that every patch, because again, that's our goal to keep the balance of the commanders. We don't want them to be OP. Of course, some of them will be OP, but that's our job, will be to balance them out.
None of them will be intentionally OP.
Not intentionally,
Some of them may, if they are OP, we will balance them down, right? Again, a core principle of the system with commanders is no matter which commander, no matter where you got them from, no matter any of that, they're all equal in the power level, in the power add that they provide to a player, right? So the difference between somebody who's got 1 fully leveled commander and 10 is not more power, is just more choices about which commander and which skills they want to bring into the battle.
And coming back to the question about expanded alpha being a factor, whether you can predict, are you one shot now, or If there is a commander, if there is Duncan on the other side, are you gonna get one-shotted now? I think that's a matter of a feedback. There are some proposals from players like, hey, how do I know what commander is he driving?
Yeah, there was some.
Yeah, these ideas, we'll collect them. Maybe we do them in the game. Maybe it's not on the release, maybe later. But again, I think it's super valuable. Questions like that actually help a lot.
Yeah.
So more tests are coming, and as you can see, we're open for the dialogue. And I see the chat is spamming with like no commanders. Let's find the compromise. Because there are players that want commanders, and they believe that it's a fresh air for the game. It might work. Yes, we've heard that you don't like the visuals. We are ready to change the visuals. You don't like the abilities and its balance. Let's change and let's test more. So let's find the compromise. Just spamming with no commanders, it's not
Yeah, we need a happy
what we
medium
want.
here, definitely.
Well, and you know, look, it's not even just about finding a medium, right? It's about, from a system standpoint, you know, we feel like this is something we need to do. Again, having a system where more experienced players have an absolute power bump over less experienced players is just bad design. Flat out bad design. It's not fair, and it causes players who are not, you know, 5-year and 10-year players to quit. And that's not, you know, nobody benefits. Long-term players, short-term players, nobody benefits when other players quit, right? Like I make this, you know, kind of analogy all the time, right? Like I get it, it's awesome to be a lion hunting gazelles, right? If all the gazelles leave, then
We will hunt for.
it's just lions versus lions, you know, and
Less
it's a
fun
very,
for everyone.
well, and it's a very small and lethal place, right? So, you know, we know that we need to make those changes, but again, for the people whose issue around the commanders is stylistic, visual, whatever, we're going to make changes to the style and the visuals and all that, and also we're going to give you the ability to decide how much or how little you want to see and hear from them.
Interact with them, basically. Yep.
And then for the people whose issue is around systemic issues, again, to the extent people said, oh, this is just a way to hide pay to win, it is not. We're not going to hide better commanders behind a paywall or any of that. Everything is balanced. And for the people who are just not feeling good about the numbers in the system and the set, like, we agree. Those, again, it's the first of several tests planned. We don't expect that all the numbers are going to be good. And, you know, Andre said it. Early on, we did some tests with commanders, and the numbers were lower. And a bunch of people, basically, we got feedback of like, I don't feel it, right? I don't see what benefit these have. So then we went further, and you know, look, I think for some of them we overshot the mark. That's normal, right? But again, you make a dramatic change so that you find the boundary and then you hone into the right place, right? Some of the skills are probably closer, right, than others. But, you know, piece by piece, we're going to make those choices, and we're going to come to numbers that feel fair and appropriate. And again, as importantly as anything else, balanced as among all the commanders.
Got it. Next hot topic, sets.
Yeah. So look, I think Andre and I can talk about this a lot. I think, again, like we did with commanders, you know, we started by trying to just explain, like, why did we want to make changes to crew at all, right? And then we can talk about, you know, what do we want to get out of the, you know, the commander system, and then what are we doing, and what are the changes we want to make. I think that's the right kind of pattern here. So I want to start by just talking about when we talked about moving away from the tank tree, right, making changes, why would we do that? Because for a lot of players, and certainly for anybody who's been playing this game 5 years, 10 years, any problems that we may see with the tank trees, you know, for a person who's been playing that long, like, there are no problems, right? And because for them, all of the, whatever we see as these issues, problems, they're used to them and they're good, right? Like the tank tree for a really long time veteran player is a place where they find easily the tanks they want to play and interact with them. And they know where all of them are.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if that order is good, bad, perfect, the worst thing ever, whatever, they know it. And so for them, it's perfect, right? So I understand why it is that people are, immediately resistant or like, what do you mean you're going to make changes to this? We all go through that, right? When Apple, releases an iOS update and, moves buttons around and things, right? It's a normal reaction for people who've been using it a long time. So I understand that when I say anything about these, the things we see as drawbacks, there's a whole bunch of people who are going to say like, yeah, but I don't care. And we get that. But as an example, right, we have 8 already different nation flags, right, in the tree, right, when you go in. Especially if you're on a phone, the real estate there, right, like if we want to add a 9th, a 10th, an 11th, are we going to scroll down and make it, now it's 2 rows? Is it doubled up? Like, there's a ton. It is an incredibly dense screen. It's awesome because, set of screens actually, right? It's awesome because you can find all this stuff, but it's overwhelming in the amount of buttons and things and interactables that are on it. And again, if we want, like, part of the reason that the European Union tree exists is because, ideally there would be a Polish tree and an Italian tree and a Czech tree and all
Players
this, right?
actually asked about it.
Yeah. But like we're out of room, right? So something has to happen. Either the icons get smaller to the point where it's, or it's a second row and now everything gets pushed to the right, or it's scrolling. So even all of them don't fit on one, on the screen for you. So the system has been great, but like, hundreds and hundreds of tanks and tens of nations later, we're kind of running out of room, and so we need to redesign the house. So that's a part of it. Another part is, we've got a lot of things that just aren't in the trees, right? A lot of tanks. A bunch of premiums aren't there, right? The Gothic tanks, if you want to call them, right? The Draculas and Frankensteins and Helsings of the world, right? The post-apocalyptic tanks, right? All of the kind of Mad Games, tanks and things like that. They're not in there. What, are we going to just drop them in as a subset off of the German line? Like, it doesn't work, right? So there's a bunch of tanks that aren't represented in the tank tree, and there's a bunch of issues that prevent us from being able to add more stuff. And then on top of that, the player base that exists now sees all of the freedom that all of these tanks give you. But we've also seen a lot of feedback, right? As a new player getting into it, it's overwhelming. It's actually, I don't even know where to start. And also, there's nothing in the tank trees right now that gives you a sense of how that tank is going to play, right? You have to go in and read a bunch of stats, and
Could you give us an example where it's illogical in the tech tree?
Yeah, I mean, well, look, one of my favorites, right? Like, when you go in and you start playing the British TDs, and you play the Electo, which was one of my favorite tanks in the game. Tier 4, zippy, it's super light. I mean, it's like a slot car with a howitzer attached, right? It's awesome, and you move and you run around and you shoot stuff, but you get hit, you're done.
Yep.
And then the very next tank you play is you're into the AT series.
Yep.
So you go from like fast and peppy and mobile to Jason from Friday the 13th. You don't move, you're hulking and slow. You will destroy anything that happens to get in front of you, but it's really easy for things not to be in front of you. The play style, it doesn't match, it's inconsistent. It doesn't, hold together. And as a player, that's jarring. As a new player, that can be very jarring. And there's nothing in the line that explains to you what's coming, right? So, where take sets, right? And, like, if I'm a player, look, I don't know. Again, if I'm a World War II super hardcore tank enthusiast, I will know what a Nashorn is. I will know its strengths and weaknesses, how it fought, where it fought. I may even know which battles it was and wasn't in, and what tanks it was good at against or bad at against. If I'm a more casual player, it's a toaster oven with a gun on the end, right? or let alone something that's not even a name, a VK. It's a series of initials and numbers, right? VK4502. What is that? What's it good at? There's nothing about it that tells you what it's good at. With a set, right? If I'm looking not at the Nashorn, right, but I see a thing that says, silent slashers, right? And I see I open it up, and there's music, and there's a picture, and there's a set description in the text, and now I can get a sense before I start playing the tank. I can get a sense of what that, not just that individual tank, but that whole line is going to feel like, and that is a big improvement. And again, especially as a player who's not as experienced, it's super helpful because then I don't make a bad decision about where I spend my resources.
So you know what to expect based on what you see.
And I play something that I'm likely to enjoy, right? And again, another benefit is then we have the similar sets, right? We can make recommendations for you, right? Hey, we see that this person plays a lot of this kind of fast, zippy tank destroyer. They're good at it, they're successful at it. We have a similar sets button. Over time, we figure that we can build in recommendations and things like that, right? Again, much like a streaming service can have, right? Where, hey, we noticed you've watched a lot of this kind of show. Here's other shows like that you probably enjoy. So those are a lot of those benefits that, again, the tank tree just doesn't provide.
I would add here that one of the cases that is really frustrating right now, and we see a lot of feedback from players. Say, let's take the same example that you gave with Alecto. Say you got to the Alecto, okay, you fully capped it, got all the modules, researched the next tank, 82, but then you're stuck there.
Yeah.
And when you research it, your 82 is now in stock, with stock modules. It's not really good to drive.
Yep.
You don't have the equipment on it. So you kind of, on a joy matter, you were enjoying Alecto, and then you drop, and then you have to play from the beginning.
Yeah.
I know that's how the game is, right? On every tank, you got to the stock, and then you kind of climb back, you enjoy it, but then you have to go back. You have to drive this tank. You have no choice. You cannot get to 88 before you played 82.
Yep.
And that's actually frustrating. All of us went through this, we accept it, we are World of Tanks Blitz players, but then there are people who did not accept that. They probably don't watch this stream because they just
because they're just
not
with us.
Yeah.
No, they're watching because they need to spam in the chat.
Look,
there's people,
in that line, right? Like, I wanted to get to the Babaha. I wanted to be able to experience the joy and thrill of smashing something to
One shot,
smithereens, right? Yeah, it's awesome. But I got to go through the tortoise to get there. And I know, there are a lot of people who like that particular play style. It's not for me. And again, and with the way that sets are constructed, if I don't want to play the tortoise, I don't have to play the tortoise.
You can play Alecto all you want until you get to the end of the set.
And yeah, it may be faster or slower or whatever. Super low tier tank, your progression's going to be slower, but still you make the choices, right? Like I love the tier 5 AMX, right? The French light. I loved it. It's awesome. The tier 6 one, I like it.
Not that.
I don't love it, right?
Yep.
It just doesn't stick for me the same way. And we want to have a system, right? Like Andre said, where you don't have to choose between progressing to get to the tier 10, and actually enjoying yourself, right? That shouldn't be a thing that we force people to do.
Yep, and actually here, even if you like MX12T, right? Yep. The choice that set system allows you is to switch to a different set. You don't have to start from the very beginning, from the very first tier to get to, say, Soviet Su-152. Like you can, scan through the sets, pick the one that you like. You'll probably have enough keys because you already progressed in the player level. And then you can select the second set, but you don't have to start either from the very beginning or, pick the branch that you've been playing on, just the other branch of it.
And it doesn't force us if we're going to put out, like a lot of the sets, the tank lines that we put out, they'll start at like tier 6, right? And so again, either we have to make more room somehow in this very crowded real estate already to have yet another independent line, but then it's starting at tier 6. Well, you got to be able to go through tier 1 through 5 to get there. So then we branch it off of some other tier 5, which means now you got to go back and play that tier 5 yet again to be able to get to the point where you're doing the 6s and so on. So a set-based approach allows us to not force you through, those kinds of things. Again, I understand there's a million, people who are saying, look, and I'm making up the number, not a million literally, right? But there's a bunch of people who say, look, I get that, but I don't want those things, right? But this is always the decisions that we have to make, right? We have to sometimes make changes to things and rearrange stuff in order to be able to make it, going forward, continue to be livable.
But we still do have some ideas how to make usability of sets more, more fit to current players that are used to tech trees.
Yeah, and in a weird way, right? Like part of the reason, again, that we see advantages with sets is that when you're a new player, look right now, and this is a problem with the ultra test, right? If you're a level 100 player and you come in and you've got these 100 tanks that are already unlocked as a veteran in the transfer event, and you come in and the set screen is overwhelming, right? It's staggering. Oh God, there's all this stuff, and where is my favorite tank? I can't find it. Some of that is the carousel, and I'll talk about that in a second. But it's this daunting, unbelievable, like, oh my God, they rearranged everything in the house, right? It's uncomfortable in that moment. But once you know where everything is, it gets easier. But we didn't do a good job of helping you understand and helping you see where those things are. For a new player starting from 0, they won't see all of those sets all at once. You see one set, you progress through, you go through a few things, you level up your player level, you unlock another set. Now you get to go back and you play there. And as you progress further and your player level gets higher, you unlock more sets, right? So you don't start with seeing all of it. You start with a little bit and you go over time, which is it's a more comfortable experience and it's less overwhelming. We need to make the transfer experience for veteran players less overwhelming.
Yep.
Because that is, I think, one of the biggest problems that we have with the sets right now. The other, on the carousel piece specifically, look, Andre knows, right? Like when we were playing, the first thing I came in was like, where's my tank? I had 5 tanks I was working, right? And now I see all these other tanks. Where's the tanks I was working, right? Those are the ones I want to play. The carousel, our intent with the carousel is that we're going to make it so that the carousel functions and all of the ordering and filtering and everything is going to be exactly like current Blitz. So when you are playing current Blitz and you've got your list of whatever your pinned or favorites or however you've got it set, whatever that group of tanks is that you see there in the carousel, in Blitz, when you transfer to Reforged, the exact same ones.
Right.
And I think that's going to help a lot, because I get it. It's no fun when you want to just jump in and play with your favorite tank and then you can't find it. So we absolutely need to do that better. And again, this is sometimes some of the stuff in the test, it's just not, everything's not done, and some of the stuff in the test, it's you put your hands on it and you experience it and you go, oh, okay. This isn't just me, this is a huge problem and everybody's seeing it. So.
Yeah, so this problem that you're talking about is discoverability of tanks that you own, right?
Yeah.
And this is super actual for current players who has a lot of tanks. And that's, again, something that we are focusing on. We are going to redesign the carousel a little bit and the whole filters and factions, menus, to make it more familiar, more easy to do. Then, again, there is the second point here is discoverability of tanks that you don't have, right?
Yep.
So right now, the only interface that we have is the interface of sets. You can go with collections, But again, we don't have this full big picture that trees provide.
Yeah.
Right? You cannot just watch it, look at it, and say, okay, that's how the whole thing is structured.
Yep.
I think that's a fair feedback from the players.
Absolutely.
That's something that we already took into production. The guys are working, and I hope we can provide some visuals with the players in the near future.
Yep. Yeah.
Before the second ultra test begins, just to explain you guys what we're thinking about, how it should look before we actually implement it.
A view that should be more familiar to the people who understand the current, who are happy with the current trees, right?
So am I right to say that this change is going to be some kind of mix of our current tech trees and the sets?
Yeah. So the progress, we think the right thing for all the reasons we've talked about, right? We want the way people progress through the game to still be through sets, but we want to make sure that people who have been playing for a long time can find things.
I'm playing for a long
things that are more
time.
familiar.
It's hard for me to find a tank.
Yeah, look, it sucks when you're just you've had your socks are in the same drawer forever, and then suddenly mom decides to put them in somewhere over there. That's not fun. Where the hell are my socks? I get it, right? It's a totally fair piece of feedback. And so we're going to introduce some more UI that will make it easier for people to understand where we now have hidden your socks.
Okay, and we are not going to test it in the nearest future. We need time to implement these changes, of course. And of course, we are going to run another bunch of tests, not only one, but a bunch of. And we will ask you to jump on our test servers again and to share your feedback, of course, but everything that is going to be implemented is already based on your feedback, because we are reading Discord all the time. You know that all the weekend we were with you online, and we don't just read Discord, but we make notes, we write huge documents for the development team. Development team is also reading Discord, and we know your feedback, and we believe that we understand how to implement changes to make the system better and user-friendly for you.
Yeah, I know, look, when the trailer dropped, right, I saw a bunch of comments. Right,
can we just forget about it?
Well, no, from people saying, I'm sure that nobody cares about this and none of you guys are going to read this, right? I'm sure the dev team isn't reading this, they don't care.
Also us crying for 2 hours.
Yeah. But the reason that we're here on the stream, right, is because we want to make very clear, like, we are reading them. We do take this stuff seriously, and again, like I said last week, like I see how clearly we have failed to give people the transparency that they want and deserve, right? And so we need to do that better, and that's why we're here. That's why you've got Andre here. That's why you've got me here. And that's why I don't think you guys are going to be able to get rid of either of us anytime soon. This is the new paradigm that we want to have. We want people to hear it. And I get it. If you think what I'm saying is really stupid, like, that's great. Listen, you can tell me, hey, that's just really stupid. That's fine. More useful feedback, of course, would be, here's the things that I think don't, like, I've heard your argument. Here's the things that make sense. Here's the things that don't. Or, hey, why don't you solve it instead of this way, that way? Like, that kind of stuff is incredibly valuable. And again, all the way up through, right? For me and everybody else in the studio, we are all reading this stuff and taking it seriously. And that's why Andre and I were in meetings from Monday and yesterday and today that was basically just wall to wall to wall with all the feature teams and going, okay, this is it. This is what we need to work on. These are the comments. We need to address these, right? That doesn't mean we just, okay, we won't do that, we'll kill it. But it means that we need to take it seriously and think about it and come up with ways to make that, the things that are the most painful for players, to be less painful, the things that are unclear, to be more clear. And, like I said, it's not about finding a compromise, it's about finding something that works and takes that feedback seriously and makes the best version of it possible.
It seems like collaboration of the dev team and the players, because we take the feedback and we're trying to improve the features based on your feedback. There were some questions on Discord, so I will just read the question and you can give either long reply or just a short one. Assuming that sets are going to stay in the game, will the development team work with the community to make sets that make more sense than the current ones? So I believe that you know that some tanks are not good for players for this set and it should be moved to another one, or the name should be changed. So what's your perception of these complaints?
That's actually the beauty of the whole set concept, that you can quite easily change its composition, move tanks between the sets, and we've seen multiple comments like that, like why this tank is in this set, it's supposed to be there. And yeah, that's fair, we can do that. We can move them around inside the set, like change the level that the tank gets unlocked on, or change the price. So all this is changeable, and we are actively changing. So on the next test, the composition of sets will be a bit different. And this concerns, again, levels, prices, prices and keys, when the set gets unlocked on a player level. Right now, we have the first setup that is on the test. We are actually monitoring how new players react to it, because, you know,
And how?
Actually pretty good, because the previous experience, when you launch the game and you have to start
with tier 5.
yeah, you have to start with a higher tier, and you would actually pick a tank based on the nation.
Yeah, because I'm from America and I pick American tank. That's simple logic.
Yeah, what if I'm from Lithuania? What do I pick?
European.
You like the red color, you pick Soviet, for example, German.
So basically, you don't know much about the tank itself. You start with you don't start with tier 1, and then you kind of progress, and then you come back to tier 1. Now it's much more straightforward. You start in one set, you know, you progress in the set, you get the second tank, the third tank, and then you can pick either of two sets. So it's not this huge big choice for you in the early stages of the game, but again, it's a choice.
So you think that such huge variety for the newcomer is not the best option?
Definitely.
Yeah, it's when you're a little more experienced, it's variety.
Yep.
When you're less experienced, it's intimidation, right? It's overwhelming. Yeah, like this is not just about us. Like the biggest reason that people tend to leave any game is if they just don't understand, right? Because if you don't understand how something works, if you don't understand what's a good choice or a bad choice,
you can't have fun.
yeah, you're gonna, and you know, you're generally gonna go just try something else that's easier to get to, right? And so we are trying to make sure, right, that we piece it out for players, you know, and parcel it out so that they have that, they can have fun, they can enjoy themselves, and then they get more choices as they become more comfortable.
I have the same feeling when I go to the mall and I have to buy rice, and there are 10 different kinds of rice. Which one do I pick?
You just call your wife and ask.
No, you just watch your community contributors.
Very simple question.
Yes, she understands. She's like tier 100 player.
We need professionals in every industry. Okay, another question about the sets. We told our players that if you want to open the set, you need to have the tank present and purchased in your garage, the researchable one, right? And there are players that have a lot of premium tanks and a lot of collector tanks, and when they see the set which is full of premium or collector tanks, it's locked. It's locked with a key. So why do I have to use my keys to open this set with the tank that all these tanks are in my garage, but the set is locked? So that's I don't like it. Anything you want to do about it?
Yes, we agree. And we're going to make tanks, those sets are going to not cost keys to open.
Sets with premium and
collectibles,
these like, this is a line of
So for example,
premium,
Mad Games
this is
set.
a line of collectors.
Mad Games set,
Yeah.
This is a set with only premium or collector vehicles.
Yeah,
It will be.
It will not cost you keys to unlock it.
yeah. We don't want to, look, we went back and forth on a lot of things, and you know, I had some conversations with the guys originally about like, why did we do this? And that, you know, like, well, yeah, but we did this, and so then we changed the gold price and discount it. Like, let's just make it simpler, right? Like, I don't think it's good to tell somebody that they should pay us so that they can have the opportunity to pay us. right? Like this should be a set that's free to open, and so that's, you know, a lot of times the simpler answer is better, and this is one of those cases.
I think there's another question here, maybe more general for players. So currently during the first ultra test, only purchased tanks once transferred count towards like progress sets. And we've seen a lot of backlash from players regarding this decision. And I believe we made our minds to have it somehow changed. Can you explain the details here?
Yeah, the design that we want to implement, that we're going to implement is the tanks that you have, you will get them, but the tanks that you researched will contribute to your progress in the set. So you won't have it, you won't own it because you didn't buy it, but the level will match.
Progress still counts.
Yeah. So that when you launch Reforged, your set will be on that level and you can just buy the tank.
I think that's an important decision and probably a very welcome one from player perspective. Thank you.
Yep.
And for premium sets, thank you as well.
Well, and thanks for everybody for the feedback, right? Like, again, these are things that, you know, hearing it from the community and getting the feedback, and, you know, we want to make the changes that we feel like we can make, the changes that we feel like make sense, we're gonna do those things. And, you know, hearing that from everybody, it's like, yeah, you know what, that's fair. We need to do something about that.
Okay, another question about the sets. Why do we add keys to the game?
That's actually a good question. Keys, again, they are not a separate system. The whole system revolves around the player level, the sets, and sets level. So keys are the means to, at the same time, give you choice, especially when you're a newbie. You know, as I said, you get access to two sets, and then you kind of go into one. And we want you to focus playing on that one rather than unlock the second one, then unlock the third one, and now you have a bunch of tanks, and you don't actually progress in any of them. Some people would grind and defocus. We want you to stay focused at least for a while, at least until you kind of grasp the main concepts of the game. How to control the tank, how to upgrade it, how to progress in the set. Then, you know, when you progress in the set, you get more keys and you get another choice, like which set do I go next? So step by step, you start to progress in tiers, you start to progress in sets, and keys, they are kind of limitation, but again, they give you a meaningful choice. And then we need to compare the system with the current one, with the trees. So the perception is we are taking away the freedom. And right now, when you have trees, you can kind of go in any way. At the same time, your pattern would be the same. You will have to play on one tank, on the second tank, on the third tank to get to the tier 10. It's not like you can go to any tier 10 at any time. Actually, with the design of the sets, we calculated, you know, when you played around 1,000 battles or 2,000 battles, kind of you get into this mid game, you get more choice because you can start unlocking a set that starts with tier 4, for example. You don't have to grind all the previous stuff. So keys help us as game designers to control this choice. And of course, sometimes we may get into situations like with premium tanks only sets. Yes, we make them unlock for free. You don't need keys for that. Maybe there will be other sets that are unlocked for free. You just reach a certain player level, and boom, you have this set. You can just play it.
Can you state that if I'm free-to-play player, I don't have any money to donate to the game, can I be sure that I will be able to unlock the sets with comfortable timings without any money?
Guarantee? You want me to guarantee that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you think is comfortable. But yeah, that's our goal, that as long as you play, as long as you enjoy this game, you will have enough keys to start unlocking sets.
Okay.
And again, and I think it's really important, right? Like, how do people get keys? The main place that we see keys coming in, again, for, if you're starting kind of, natural from zero, right? It's through the player leveling, right? Through that system. Again, you'll see if you go in the early player levels, there are rewards where, we unlock visibility of sets, we unlock different features, you go through, pretty typical for a lot of games, right? Where, you kind of, you let people get understanding of how this works before you expose them to the next thing. Keys are a regular thing in there. If you go a little bit further past like the first 20 levels, right? This is, boom, 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 keys, right? So the once you're through that kind of initial thing, the primary progression is actually is gaining more keys. Again, to Andre's point, right? Like if you just want to go in and I want to unlock everything right now, and I don't want to wait, yeah, then then that's something where you're going to have to, pay to do all that at once. But if you kind of follow the progression the way that a normal player tends to do, that's not going to be there. I think the other thing, though, again, for players that are transferring in, and everybody who's watching this generally is somebody that's a veteran player transferring in, right? I think one of the things that we've got our eye on very, very carefully is the cost of those sets and the amount of keys that you get on the transfer. And those numbers are not final. Those are the first step that we made based on the test. And we're going to keep evaluating that, and we're going to make decisions about what's fair and reasonable for existing players to get when they make that transfer in.
Okay, so to sum up the topic, because we're kind of limited with time, sorry, about the sets, we are going to change the navigation to make it more clear and more transparent, and we will give you the opportunity to test it and share feedback once again. There will be a way to check all the tanks in the game on one screen, so that's going to be a kind of combo between the tech trees and between the current set system. We understand the problems and we are trying to fix them based on your feedback. Answering your question, we will not bring back the tech tree, but we will implement this system of the tech trees into the current set system. So good combo mix, I think it should work. But again, we will ask you to take part in our next test and check it. Let's move forward.
Yep.
Yes.
Battle.
Yes.
I think we have Blitzstick playing some battles, so we can now
good.
enjoy it. So I think the battle part, we had several main concerns from players. First one being physics, I guess. So some of the players, actually a bunch of them, reported that some of the tanks do not feel like tanks. You don't feel the weight. It's too cartoonish, too paperish. The flip over mechanics, though it's kind of fun, it still feels a bit off in terms of how you actually feel and experience it. So are we going to address it somehow?
Yeah, look, some of that, again, with the AMX Airlines bug being squashed, some of that should be addressed just through that. Some. Other parts of it are going to have, again, this is new engine, new stuff. The physics is interesting for us because we actually, for people who care about how the technology works, we're using a plugin. We're not just taking the Unreal physics system, we're actually using a plugin that was developed internally where we take the World of Tanks physics system, the Blitz physics system, and we pull it over. There was a lot of conversion, a lot of work that had to happen because it's not like you just do that and then it just works. There was a lot of variable training and tuning, but the core is physics that we've had that then is made to work, is kind of translated through so that Unreal can recognize it and use it. But it's so it's familiar, but it's not. It hasn't been released yet. This is new from a technical standpoint, and so there's a ton of just bugs and weird edge case stuff, and again, things that you see as you get large numbers of players in, and that's where this, that's again the benefit of the Ultra test and where this data is super useful. It is my expectation that the physics will continue to be tuned and tweaked and worked on all the way through all the tests that we've got planned, and frankly, probably for even 6 months to a year beyond the initial release of Reforged, we're going to continue to probably not massive changes, but we'll continue to have tweaks and tuning and balances, right, to squash stuff, edge case things, and weird behaviors as we see it.
So with current Blitz, we've been tuning and playing with physics for 10 years.
Yeah.
So it never stops, actually.
Yeah.
Right now.
For longer, right? Like, because it was,
it
was
started
during development. Yeah.
Yep. And, what we're focusing on right now, yes, are the bugs that you guys submit. We feel that there is something funny with turning the tank, especially when it goes
like slowing down.
Yeah, it slows down when you turn. Yeah. So this is being addressed. Then we're running a crash tests and performance test when you would drive the same tank in current and in Reforged and try to turn. So ideally, its behavior would be the same. But yeah, we already see that it's acting a bit weird. Again, I don't think there is anything critical. This is all tunable.
Yeah.
The good thing is that the physics engine, it works on server as it used to be. It's not the client tag. The server works fine. So it's a matter of iterations, tests, and these feedbacks. So working on that a lot.
Yeah. So we have tools, we have feedback, we have everything we need to make it like run properly.
Yeah. We need more battles, basically. We need more data.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
And the engineers just need time to continue to iterate, right?
And I think it's important to mention that engineers will go to Discord and will ask for your help with solving this issue. So please be open, and we will be grateful for your help.
Yeah, one of the biggest things, right? If somebody says, "Hey, the physics is this, the physics is that," different tanks have different behaviors, right? Different problems, different characteristics. And so for us, one of the things that we really need a lot more feedback on and a lot more understanding of is if somebody says, hey, it's to this or to that, what tank were they playing when they felt that, right? So what tanks do they tend to use and things like that. So this, the information, right, that the engineers are going to be asking about is to understand more of like, when you say this, what did you feel? And also, on what tank were you playing when you made that happen, right? Tell me more about how you got there. And that stuff is super helpful.
Interesting stuff that as the team was porting the physics to the new engine, we actually found out that there are some bugs in the current Blitz. Because and they've been there for 10 years, and we're like, okay.
It was not a bug, it was a feature.
It was not a bug, it's a feature.
Yeah.
So for some bugs, okay, so they actually become features and we port them as is, but we found a lot of that stuff, and which is gonna be fixed in
the Reforged update.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's funny.
Okay, so a few simple questions, and I want, again, simple answers. Why are you removing mastery pages from random battles?
We don't.
We are not.
That's it.
Yeah.
Change of plans, I guess?
No. Again, in the Ultra test, not everything that we intended to have at the release is in the Ultra test builds. Again, back to first message, we didn't do a good enough job of explaining to people what's there, what's not, and what we're intending to do. And so, I get it. You log in, you don't see a thing, and you go, "Oh my God, you're removing this?" No.
It's not just there yet.
Yeah, it's just not. Like, we haven't finished all of the UI, right, for some of these things. And so things that are less critical from a testing standpoint are the things that are, that we haven't gotten in, right? The stuff that we prioritized was the stuff that needed lots and lots of testing to be able to get there. So something like mastery badges is going to work like it did, and so it's the risk is minimal, so we didn't prioritize getting that in to get to the first test.
Actually, I think I can mention a couple of things, like platoons are not in the Ultra test, but we plan to have them on release. But some features... Spoilers. Some features like tank rankings, when you play on a tank and it gets to the infinite ranks. We plan not to have it on release, but it will get a bit later. So we are saving all the stats, and we plan to bring it later, but not on the release.
So nothing is get lost.
No. Nothing is get lost.
Adding it.
That's the strategy, to keep everything that you ever earned and get back to you as soon as possible.
So talking about medals, what about stats? Maybe we can show some screenshots?
Sure.
Who am I to disagree?
Like in short, I think the situation with stats is similar. We plan to have as much stats as we had in the current Blitz. So if you can demonstrate some mock-ups.
Right? Yeah, this is like, it's not
It's
from
a
live build.
It's a screenshot
It's
from there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
if
we
we
can
can-
switch
To
on
make long story short, if you don't understand what's happening,
There it is.
there is a
please.
drama that we removed the stats from the game,
Yeah.
but it's still the test server. But players are worried about the win rate.
Yeah.
I started the huge scandal on Discord because I said that win rate is not about your personal pure skill, because it depends on the team as well. It depends on
Yeah.
spawns, on maps, on many factors. We can continue this drama on
Yeah.
Discord after the stream, of course, very open. But win rate.
Yes.
Win rate will be in the game.
Will
it
be
will
there.
be for each mode. You'll have your win rate, your average damage. You know, these valuable
Yeah.
stats will be there.
Yeah, we're not
Victory.
losing anything, and we're not abandoning anything. And to be frank, you know, as we do this stuff, and again, as we see things and evolve, if there's a stat that people, you know, hey, this is not there, or this is, you know, then, you know, these are things that we can continue to work on and build on. But we're not, it's not just a question of what we're showing and not showing. Like, the data is not being lost. We will have it, and so the, you know, the way we display it and things like that can change over time because it's new stuff. But yeah, it'll be there.
Yeah, so the question right now from the chat on YouTube, from Shell Bouncer, will the stats we have be transferred, or only rating stats will be shown in our profile after the Reforged update? I don't want to lose my S-tankers and win rate. I grinded in random battles. So the simple answer to your question, we will keep everything for you.
Yes, and not just in ranked. Yes,
Yep,
in random,
absolutely.
in ranked. Yeah.
I understand that there are a lot of medals that are super valuable, and you must be proud having thousands of ace tankers pages. So we will keep it. We hear you. No worries.
Yeah.
Another question from the Discord. Why are you removing provisions?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, this will be a part of the video
Yeah, the
about
economy.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
Thane was talking about. Just, I'll try to make it super quick and short. Right now, provisions, provisions are this weird concept that you kind of buy once and you put it there and it exists on your tank, and then you go to battle and then you earn some credits there. And eventually the cost of these provisions, gets deducted from the final result, and then the cost of shells gets deducted, and eventually you end up with some negative result of your battle, especially if it's on tier 9 or tier 10. But there is not much gameplay around provisions. It's not like you are making this choice or it significantly changes the way your tank behaves. So we decided to move the performance that provisions give you to modules. So you upgrade your tank, there are several new modules there, and you would get the same performance but with modules. And part of this would go to the equipment. So equipment got some slight buffs, some slight nerfs. But
So
again,
that's why we see the rammer boost from 5%.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because again, there wasn't much gameplay there. It just messes with the UI, it
Spend
gives
some
you a
credits.
choice. Yeah.
Takes up space.
And again, if you're a new player or even experienced player, if you're an experienced player, you don't care about that much.
Yeah, because you said it once 6 years ago. You made decisions about which provisions you're going to have, and then
Yeah.
it just sort of happens.
Yeah. If you are a super experienced player, then yes. I mean, when every single digit matters, yes, you start tweaking there.
Yep.
But for majority of players, it's not a game. So we decided to exclude it from the economy, to make it simpler, more clear, to remove this negative result battles. At the same time, we kept the performance. Super short answer.
Super.
It was not super short, and eSportsman would
Come on,
not
sure
agree
enough.
that provisions.
Yeah, for them, for sure.
No,
It's
look,
useless.
no. It's not that they're useless. they're very useful, but again, you know, as what Andre's saying is that we agree that they're useful, so we're putting the benefits into different parts to try to simplify some of the, you know, the UI and things like that, right? The amount of involvement that you take through it, and again, to get away from this thing where where you have this negative battle economy that can happen, where you end up losing money after the battles. Again, if I know people are going to have more comments on this and things like that, but you know, we got through commanders, now we're getting through the sets and trees stuff, right? And we'll have a lot more on this after that when we get to the economy piece.
Okay. Another question also kind of related to the battle. Infinite ammo trick. So right now you can set 20 shells, 20 hash, 20 AP. Now it's limitless. Players don't like it. It's not about strategy, it's not about resource management, it's senseless, and it doesn't give you the opportunity to receive Fadin medal. What about this topic?
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting topic. It's actually related both to economy and you know, your behavior in the battle. So in general, what would be the use case for limitation of the base shells? Like what might happen in the battle if they are not infinite? You can run out of them, right? That's what can happen. Is it fun? I don't think so.
Only for your enemy.
Yeah, it's really fun for the other guy.
Yeah.
But
like what's the purpose of it? So we actually see it in the stats that sometimes people actually run out of shells in the battle, but it doesn't push you to any meaningful behavior not to do that.
To just suffer, technically.
To just suffer. Should you save your shot to kind of save shells? Maybe, yeah, but that's not fun. That's not Blitz DNA. Yeah. So we decided to exclude it from the management of shells. And again, the situation is quite similar to provisions. Usually on a new tank, you will just set up your composition of tank and of shells and then forget about it.
If we were like a survival game, right, where you know, scarce resources and you know all that is like the core of the gameplay, then yeah, it makes sense, right? But the, you know, the core gameplay for us, right, isn't about do you have enough shells? Did you make these kind of management trade-offs, right? The core gameplay to us is about angling and positioning and, you know, getting a good shooting
appearance.
And getting a good shooting angle on on your enemy, right? Being able to figure out where do I go, where do I position myself so I'm not overextended and getting shot in the in the side or elsewhere. Where am I, how am I protecting my weak spots and how am I maximizing my chance of getting to their weak spots?
I remember one of the strange analytics things that we found once. So, we checked how the people behave in the first battles, and we found one battle where a guy would get negative, like 50,000 credits for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
We were trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah. So apparently he got all the gold shells, and then he got ammo racked on second fight, and they all got destroyed, and he got into the negative. I mean, this is probably right, and from technical standpoint, if your tank gets destroyed and ammo racked, everything is blown up. But from gameplay standpoint, that wasn't nice. So back then we removed that. If you get ammo racked, it doesn't mean you would get all your shells destroyed. But again, here we go a bit further. We want you to shoot and not think about how much it would cost.
Yeah.
If you run out of shells, just ram. That's the best advice we received in our YouTube chat. Good strategy for tourney. It's not. Okay. Should we proceed, or you want to add something else?
I think maybe a couple more questions.
Yes. Yeah, I want to cover some more questions. Maybe not a question, but a concern. players do not like the current colors that we have on the test right now. You can see in the battle the turquoise and some kind of reddish,
You mean
pinkish.
colors of the UI?
Yes.
Of the HUD?
Yeah.
So the plan is to revert them to the original colors that we currently have on Blitz. And just a spoiler, there will be a little bit more of the feedback, from the shots, from hits, that is getting added. Actually, the team is working on that a lot, adding new stuff, new effects, new signs and feedback. But again, about the colors, we've heard that, we're reverting.
Yep.
Okay, and also it's very close to this topic, but the feedback that we have in the battle, I mean the text, the damage, it's white on white, invisible.
Yep.
And as far as I know, it will be also changed and improved, right?
Right, we're fixing that to make it more visible, more contrast. I think with the new colors, it will work better already, but there will be some more tweaks.
Okay, I saw the questions about the maps. Actually, maps in general were perceived very good. Players like it. Everything except the lava. The volcano. The volcano looks kinda unrealistic based on the rest of the map. And I've heard from the level design team and from the artists that it will receive some tunes and the volcano and the lava will be improved. So again, thank you so much for the feedback.
We will talk to our chief lava officer to fix that.
Yes, the Lavanator.
Okay, so a lot of questions about the customization, about avatars, about camouflages, about the storage.
Yeah.
Players were so confused.
And with good reason, because there's a whole set of UI system that is not implemented there, and so right now you just have a zillion camos that you scroll through. Yeah, that's again one of those places where it's just like what we should have probably had is just a thing that says work in progress.
Yeah.
Rather than something that makes you think, oh, this is what we're intending it to be.
Yeah. From technical standpoint, this is one of the hardest systems to transfer because we have so many camos and we have attachments, we have epic camos, legendary skins. So they're very different and they're different for different tanks. So you can say that each tank has their own 600 or 500 set of camos. So it's around 30,000 entities. And yeah, we still need to transfer that. We still want you to not lose anything. And that's a lot of tedious work. But again, as Thane said, that's work in progress. What you see now, in the end, it will remind what you see now, but it's not going to be in that way. So please be patient. In the next test, it will be better. But again, any feedback is welcome.
Can we assure that all the camouflages and all the certificates for the customization will be safe and sound?
Yeah, that's our goal.
Yeah.
We will check with you guys.
Sounds good.
We'll monitor everything. Okay, cool.
Alexander, how about we ask a tricky general question?
Oh boy.
Do it. I'm done.
It's also from Discord, but we haven't mentioned it before. So currently we're testing Blitz Reforged. We still have like Blitz old school, Blitz vanilla on production right now. Why can't we have both? Why can't we release Blitz Reforged as a separate game and let player choose?
Yeah, that is a great question. And frankly, from the beginning of all the things that we've been doing, it's been, we've gone back and forth about what do we do, where do we go, how's the right strategy. I believe that, so for one thing, again, the core battle, the fundamental guiding principle of all this, right, is that the changes that we've wanted to make are around the core battle, right? Meta progression, make it, whether it's clearer and more understandable for early players or whatever, right? The things are around the outside of what is the actual core gameplay, which is the battle experience itself. And the battle experience in Blitz and the battle experience in Reforged, those need to be as close to one another as possible, right? Because it's still the same game. I think if we were going to go and say, hey, you know what, let's make this a different game, then we'd have to go back and say, okay, no, then Reforged needs to be different gameplay, right? Pull those things apart, make them very separated from each other, make a bunch of fundamental changes to it, to the core. And then, even if we did that, and then we have to continue maintaining 2 engines and 2 dev teams and all that. And then on top of that, the problems that we're trying to address, right, about whether it's crew or tank trees or anything else, those are still problems that exist for us that we feel like we'd then need to go solve. So we'd still be dealing with these issues and saying, okay, now what do we do with this and where do we go with that? Because we can't just add another level of crew because the disbalance just gets bigger. We can't just add 25 nations and have the tank trees be the size of an encyclopedia, and so in a lot of ways we wouldn't end up solving anything. Our goal is to make this right and to make this something where existing players can love it, can feel good about especially again, the core gameplay is still Blitz. Yeah, maybe we put the socks in a different place or whatever, but the core of the game is still the game that they know and love and continue to want to play. Make that something that's easier for new players to get in and be able to enjoy, because it's in everybody's interests.
Yep.
Forget about the finances. It's in everybody's interest to have a big, vibrant, growing, strong community of players. And the only way that we can do that is by continuing to bring in new players over time. And so making it something, right? Walking those lines, finding that right balance where the changes that we make aren't so far out that, that old players are like, nah. But still be something that, where we solve these things that we need to solve to get the new players in, and make it a fun experience for them. So that's been the reason that we've been doing this stuff.
Yeah, I think that actually if you give it a bit of thought, it perfectly makes sense. So thank you for explaining. And I think it's a great point to take a pause today.
I cannot ignore the question.
Okay.
Because
I tried.
This gentleman, his insistence. So, my lovely rock and roll 4, you are stating, make a pool, I believe swimming one, with question, do we like the changes? We will have a
Poll.
survey, not pool, poll.
Poll.
Yeah, on Discord and in the game, where we'll ask you what do you think about the Reforged update in general and what do you think about each and every feature that we have implemented. Besides all the feedback that you give us on YouTube, on Discord, we want to give very structured feedback and analytics, and it will help us to improve the game. So, unfortunately, the director is making me to finish the
Basically
stream.
shutting down the stream
Yeah.
already.
Unfortunately, so I will just speak without the ear. Thank you so
He's
much.
streaming, right?
Yeah, thank you so much. There are a lot of questions actually from the players.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to keep the communication.
Yep.
Let's keep answering these questions because, once again, a lot of questions. To sum up what we have discussed today, the commanders will be changed and updated based on your feedback. The sets will be updated and improved. The structure of tech trees will be implemented in the current system. We'll do our best to make you feel comfortable in the Reforged update, no matter what. We will have a bunch of tests, yes? So let's do it together, and again, let's work in the collaboration because we need your feedback and we hear and we listen to your feedback. So thank you so much again for all your time and all the battles that you have played with us on our Reforged update test client. We're going to have some more tests. Stay tuned, and of course, we will give you presents for your participation on the test server. You want to add something?
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Play Blitz. That's it.
Yeah, thanks for all you're exactly right. Thank you guys for all the passion. Look, I understand that even the most inflamed, angry comments out there, those come from a love of the game and a desire to make sure that we don't do things that screw up the game that they love. And so we appreciate it, we understand it, keep them coming, give us your feedback. Don't don't lose faith in us. We're listening, we're paying attention, right? That we can't always do something that everybody says they want, because there is no one thing that everybody says they want, but we're listening and we are taking it all in, and it matters. And so even the hardest comments, we appreciate them coming in.
It's very painful, but yes. Okay, it's okay. Just joking. We love you. Thank you so much. And we haven't talked about economy today. Stay tuned. A video will be published on our YouTube channel with all details and explanations. We love you. Once again, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.